they expect us to watch over their safety when they get on trains, when they're on planes, when they're in cars and highways. And last night we failed them. We failed to invest in their safety. What we should have been doing is subsidizing the safety of those passengers on that Amtrak train yesterday. And so this is just a matter of simple priorities. Thoughts are wonderful, prayers are critically important, but priorities are important as well.
I don't even know what to say when I hear that. That's, of course, Stephen Israel. We had Lee Zeldin on earlier, congressman, who said that instead of mourning the victims, Democrats are blaming this crash on possible, potential, future cuts that haven't happened yet. And, of course, while the train was going twice the speed it should have been, it's the fault of not enough funding. And Obama, just moments ago at a press conference that he's holding at Camp David, talked about the need for money for infrastructure. So he's doing it too. Joining us now is Peter Morici, syndicated columnist, economist at University of Maryland, former chief economist at USITC. And hello, sir.
If there was ever demagoguery, you heard a lot of it the day after the crash. Steve, did you know that the Northeast Corridor last year earned a $497 million profit for Amtrak? They, in turn, then used that money to subsidize other routes in the West, long-haul routes that just can't work economically. Planes are just more efficient. It's absolutely ridiculous. What you've got here is that Amtrak is one of these bureaucracies that has an endless appetite for the taxpayers' money, and Democratic politicians love it. After all, what was Barack Obama talking about? He was talking about using your money to pay more civil servants that will have good union jobs that would then vote for Democrats. Also, the cost structure of Amtrak, my goodness, they have a labor contract that is cheerfully remindful of, General Motors before the crisis. I mean, it's the good old days at Amtrak. Go to Union Station, at 10 o'clock at night, and you'll see 6, 8, 10 ticket agents. They're talking to each other. They're walking back and forth. They got nothing to do.
Well, it is sad, and of course, I'm sure your answer is it's kind of a rhetorical question to ask you this, but do you believe that the government should be running the railroads in the first place?
Well, I don't know that there's an alternative to a government-run rail system for passenger service, but the problem is it's become so politicized that it isn't limited to where it would make sense. These crowded corridors where it's an alternative to planes and it provides quick intercity transit. And by the way, the safety on that line is pretty darn good, and it was in the process of being upgraded to the highest standards available. Now, they are dealing with an old corridor. That presents challenges, but all the money in the world isn't going to change that. One of the problems here, we had an engineer he's an awfully savvy guy. He was a conductor for 7 years, and in the last 2 years has been an engineer. Now, how could you go from being a conductor, which is a guy who punches tickets, to becoming an engineer? Only in a crazy union environment. That's all I can say.
Yeah. Well, again, we heard John Boehner today say he can't believe that the media and everybody else is buying into this. I don't know if you'd taken the bait and the stupidity of the questions regarding funding. I mean, they're discussing, as Lee Zeldin said to me earlier, future potential cuts that wouldn't, first of all, affect safety, but how anybody could say that's related to this tragic accident that took 8 lives. You got to be exploiting this for your own political purposes.
What you were hearing in the media was they were sort of solidarity among subsidized workers who like Democrats. I mean, how many people in the media are actually earning their way by selling ads and so forth? I mean, all the people in the major broadcast networks are subsidized by, sports and things like that. The newspapers are money-losing operations. They're very good Democrats. That's all there is to it. If they had to go out and earn an honest living, they'd be in a lot of trouble. Just like you and me, Steve,
Well, let me, speaking of a lot of trouble, this is something that this man is not in, because his bosses at ABC said he made a mistake and they have their full confidence in him. The question is, what about the viewers? Much in the vein of Brian Williams, where George Stephanopoulos now has admitted that he's given $75,000 to the Clinton Foundation. never talked about it until today, yet he has done interviews and covered stories in his role on the Sunday show that he does this week and his Good Morning America role on the Clinton Foundation. Should there be some kind of penalty to him, do you believe?
Well, he certainly shouldn't be reporting on that, but it just goes to show you the bias of these media organizations and the fact that they really don't know that they're biased. I mean, they don't really see the conflict of interest unless it's the other side. It's a ridiculous situation that George should continue or should have ever covered the foundation if he made a large contribution to it.
Yeah, you would think that that would be common sense. You would.
I don't believe George should be removed from his job in the sense that he shouldn't be covering news because he has political views and gives money. But the reality is, if you're a conservative and you move slightly out of line,
oh yeah,
the media is going to be all over you. I've had that happen to me.
Oh yeah. Look, if I gave money,
but I have to be a monk to do this.
Peter, if I gave money to Citizens United, and I'm just making that up, or Dinesh D'Souza's, or anybody, and then I had them on and interviewed them or did stories about it, I mean, I'd have to say, full disclosure,
But they wouldn't do a story on you. They'd call the IRS and the boys of the brown shirts and come rapping at your door. You notice the media isn't screaming and yelling and nothing's been done about that.
That's a good one. Peter, great to talk to you, sir. Great to talk to you. Come back soon. We'll speak to you.
We'll see you again soon.
All right,
friend.
Peter Morici, ladies and gentlemen, and we're coming back with a great story about a special group of women that fought in Afghanistan. You want to hear about this, but first, let me tell you a little bit about our call-in segment, folks. If you want to join us, you email me at callsteve@newsmax.com.